The entire team at Emsolation want to acknowledge that we are gathered on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri people. We want to recognise that we are recording and telling our stories on the stolen land of our country's first storytellers. We wish to pay our respects to all Wurundjeri elders and ancestors, and to extend that respect to any First Nations peoples who listen to Emsolation. We recognise Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples' continued connection to the land and waters of this country, and acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded. Always was, always will be.
This is Emsolation.
Mercury can get the out of retrograde. I feel like I'm permanently, every time I read Mercury's in retrograde, I'm like, when is that bitch not in retrograde? Like, is she stuck? Because I just feel like Mercury is just in my retrograde, whatever the that means.
I don't know what it means.
All I know is the moon has been that eclipse has ruined my life.
Wow.
I am
Some might say the life wasn't on the strongest of foundations before the moon went into eclipse.
Some might shut their mole mouth. Some might be skating on very thin ice. Well, hello there and welcome to Emsolation. My name is Em Russiano. I'm a writer, a singer, a stand-up comedian, a maximalist power queen, a neurodivergent magic brain and a podcaster. And together with my best friend since I was 11, award-winning screenwriter Mr. Michael Lucas, I bring you this podcast every week. My hair is so greasy that it's like, does it look particularly slick?
It does.
Yeah.
It does look slicked, yeah.
It's still in my gym top because I was too hot to put my T-shirt on.
Is that your gym top?
Yeah, don't let this pristine vizier.
But does that mean you've worked out and just waxed some makeup on? Or is it a clean, fresh gym top?
Absolutely not. The first one.
Okay, cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm grimy and grotty.
It is, the hair is.
Lipstick on a pig.
Slick. It feels like you're just droplets away from a wet look hairstyle.
Unintentional wet look. Undesired wet look.
It's also one of the coldest. It is the coldest day in Melbourne this year.
I've got the air conditioning on.
I've noticed. It's worrying.
I'm really hot.
What kind of internal furnace is happening here?
We have a lot to get through on this show now. Look, there has been a bit of argy-bargy in the Facebook page over numerous topics. Specifically, people are feeling like we are saving the best stuff now for the sealed section and subscriber-only content. And to that I say, duh, bitch. Of course we are, because I want to draw you in to Emsolation Extra, because we've been gently massaging you towards that, because I'm not going to work for free for the rest of my life. The maths ain't mathin', friends. So while we will give you a decent, delicious meal in the Emsolation free service, I want this to serve as an elaborate, gorgeous ad to get you to part with your $2 a week to take part in the Emsolation Extra experience extravaganza. This week, I will be giving you my F1 review. Michael is on the edge of his seat for that. We had our low stakes hot takes again on the Facebook page, growing every week. My goodness, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of you have some pretty hilarious opinions. We'll be discussing all of those. But in the main app, as we call it, the free offering, I wish to start by saying I am reversing my stance on surprise screen peen. I no longer want it.
Okay. Stunning reversal. I'm going to say I'd have to think back to the time when you suddenly declared you were into Crocs for a time when you have so profoundly backflipped, and I truly can't figure out why. So how, and let's just establish you've always been a supporter of peen on screen for feminist reasons, just equality, and also, frankly, as an admirer of the male form.
Yes, I also rode a self-inflating penis.
You did.
At the Opera House.
Yeah.
And when I was at the Opera House 2 weeks ago, there was a lady working there who had witnessed said self-inflating peen.
Yeah.
And I said to her, was I the first?
Yeah.
She said, you were the first. And people still speak about that night in hushed tones.
Wow.
So I appreciate that. Yes, I have been the Princess of Peen. Up until a point.
Not a title you dreamed of as a child, I hope.
No. But I think the one thing you've missed from my statement is the surprise aspect.
Okay.
So if I'm getting a sense that peen is uponst, I'm okay. I can make a decision in the moment. Should I want to look away or fix my unblinking gaze on the screen? And I just feel, I was watching an episode of White Lotus last week as Aldi Daniel Craig / Slytherin dad.
Sean Bean.
Yes. Ha!
Was it?
And no, not Sean Bean.
No.
Aldi Daniel Craig from the White Lotus.
Yeah, no. But what's his name?
Aldi Daniel Craig.
Okay, sorry, yeah.
Father Slytherin.
Yeah.
Lucius.
Yeah.
As he lay back in his short terry-telling robe, underneath, unfurled, the man's Wang Chung. It was just like, it generally looked like a turtle coming out for battle. Like I just was not expecting it. There was no courtesy finger to the screen peen.
He was wearing a robe.
Yes, and I assumed had some
And he
jockets
lifted up
on.
his arms.
And his dick fell out.
It didn't unfurl. It was just revealed.
I feel it unfurled. I feel it flopped
I
out.
feel like...
I think there was a flopping motion.
I feel like it lifted and then it was just there.
Snuffy from Sesame Street, like just being exhausted.
I feel like I need to see the footage now because I need to see exactly how much. I'm seeing a reveal, you're seeing a flop. They're very different things. One of us has imagined something. One of us has opposed movement upon penis.
I'm
that's
saying
it. That's
review.
very...
It was just a review.
It was a flop out.
It was...
It was unfurling.
And Jason Isaacs.
Jason Isaacs, great.
I just think we should get a choice via way of maybe a little nude bum shot or the person's totally nude. It just felt like a flash. It felt like he flashed me. I didn't want to see it because I wasn't prepared.
But that was the reaction of everyone in the scene.
Oh my God, you're wrong, Dad.
That doesn't make it okay.
Well, okay.
I mean, all the actors in that scene knew what was coming. They'd read the script.
Yeah.
I haven't read the script. I didn't get choice. I just think, and it was a fine peen. It was a fine, upstanding peen. Nothing wrong
We
with it.
should just say when she says upstanding, she means respectable. She doesn't mean erect. It was not erect.
No, it was not
erect. It was
erect.
very much flaccid.
And it was a decent size. He had a good set on him. But I just objected to. I just noted myself and I clutched my pearls.
I feel like Mike White was wanting to take a very different approach to on-screen nudity to what you normally get in any film or TV. And
No consent. Was
well,
that his
consent
approach?
is obviously there's the opening thing that tells you if you're going to be getting nudity or whatnot.
Nudity. I think there needs to be a separate category if there's surprise peen.
Really?
I think I want a SP under NV.
Well, but then it wouldn't be surprise peen. You just want P.
Peen.
Really?
Frontal peen. FP. Give me a little FP. Then I can just, no, because with that one, then I'd be like watching, what's the American show with all the zombies, The Walking Dead?
Yeah.
I had to stop watching that show because I would just obsessively watch the screen wondering when the zombie was going to pop out. It would ruin the show for me. If I didn't know where the peen was coming, but I knew there was peen coming, I'd be sitting there the whole time in karate stance, waiting to like swipe the peen away.
And also then you'd get people tuning into the show for the wrong reasons, just purely like when I used to go through and figure out in the Green Guide which ones had the... Remember when they added in the classification section, like, it used to be, when we were little kids, all you got was AO. And then at a certain point, which meant adults only, then at a certain point it was like M and MA. And then they added in all of the things like violence, sex, nudity. And you'd go, well, nudity on SBS at this time, let's go check it out. What's it going to be?
It was always world movies.
Yeah.
And it was always me underneath the door while my parents were watching the world movies, like just trying to get a glimpse of a boob or a bum. Kids will never understand how hard it was to get porn in our day, will they? And now they're just giving it away, aren't they? Just surprise painting us in the face. I feel like I got a virtual turkey slap. There, I said it.
Oh, my God. You've been assaulted by...
I wouldn't go that far. I wasn't assaulted, but I just felt there's something about it that just felt a bridge too far. I don't know why this has pushed me over the edge, literally, and it could have. If I'd have been standing in front of that thing and on a cliff, I would have fallen off.
I mean,
the rate at which it came out, I'm surprised. It feels like some little tiny little men in there holding it back to fling it forward. I don't understand how it got so much velocity. It must be enormous.
I honestly swear.
I reckon they had it tied up around his neck. And then somebody undid the thing and it flopped out at speed.
I think, I'm just going to say, Emsolators, check the footage. The
Nah,
velocity
don't.
is all in M's head. She has added some sort of projectable element to this,
Incorrect.
which did not exist in any way,
Why
shape,
would you
or
go
form.
and check it? Why? Just trust me.
I appreciate that he's presenting nudity in like it's not sexualized. It's in this completely different mode than we ever see before. I mean, the other option is like you have something like in the Menendez brothers where we like, have sultry looks going into a shower and then like soaping yourself down. I mean, it's like I've watched this sequence multiple times and then a slow reveal around. But that does feel like inevitably if you're working up to it, I feel like you're sexualizing it in a way. You're teasing it. You're saying it's like something worthy of like it's like an illicit thing that needs a reveal. Whereas this was just like, it put us in the position of his children going, oh my God, what? Which I feel like was the intent.
Was it third peen? I feel like there was first peen was the brother, and then I've got a vision. It might have been another show I was watching.
Oh,
a man
in this
season of White Lotus.
Yeah.
A man walking in full front peen, and I can't think if it was this show or another show I was watching.
I think it's another show.
I saw another full front peen in a primetime show I was watching with Chella last week, and now I can't recall what.
Because again, was there consent in this situation?
Well, he was nude, so I expected it.
Okay.
But I didn't expect it. Like, it was full front. It was cock as you like it.
Wasn't the newsreader, I'll tell you that much.
No. But there was I definitely got an abundance of unwanted peen last week. I'm off peen at the moment too. Could care less.
Really?
So that could be affecting my judgment and decision making.
Really? Wow.
Oh.
There could be a brand new full frontal season of Vikings itself and you would not be into it at the moment. I'd make some exceptions.
I'm willing to be convinced. Someone
Yeah.
wishes to mount a case for full frontal peen, surprise peen
Pun intended.
on Vikings. Anyway, I'm just saying that's how I felt. It just evoked a strong reaction in me.
Okay.
Okay? I can't help it.
I have to say these days, apart from anything else, even though in theory I support the notion of a surprise peen, I rarely get it because the internet floods with such a reaction that I
haven't
get
seen
that
any
before.
reaction to Lucius Malfoy peen. Have
Oh,
you?
I've seen whole news.com articles about him saying,
Was it his?
saying, why is it that we make such a big deal about it?
Well, it was big.
Why is it that I'm asked questions about it?
You got your dick out, doll.
You wouldn't ask a woman questions if she... No one went up to Mikey Madison and said, how did you feel about being full frontal in Honora? Because we know that would be wrong, but everyone asked me about it.
Oh, God, I wish I had been on the other end of that.
Yeah.
I would love to respond to that.
Well, go on.
Jesus Christ. No, I don't feel like taking on any straight white men this week.
Woo!
Coming up later, I will be discussing my thoughts around Neurodiversity Celebration Week. But next, we're going to be discussing Snow White,
Yeah.
the blessed movie. It's been held off for 15 years.
I'm
Gal
so
Gadot's gone
obsessed.
into retirement. It's been so long.
Yeah.
And it's finally out. And you...
Well, no, it's not out yet.
Oh, it's been reviewed.
Or has it? This is the question. Can we just recap?
Can you recap the controversy?
No, but we've brought it up a lot, but I think we have to step through.
You do it.
Everyone. Obviously, Snow White was put into production like around the start of the pandemic and in a very different time. At the time when the Disney remakes were at their absolute peak.
Mm-hmm.
This one, they took a while to get to.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say there's been a number of controversies. The first one was around the whole notion of, as we all know, it was Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. These days, dwarves is not an appropriate term. And the depiction of them in the movie, the original movie, the animated movie, doesn't sit so well. Peter Dinklage spoke out about it. So their solution was to CGI.
So instead of hiring 7 short-statured
right.
actors and perhaps improving the storyline, they chose to...
CGI and they're sort of, I'm not even sure that they're ever called dwarves. They actually seem to be quite big in a way in the film and they're sort of like creatures.
We're not objecting. It felt like no one's objecting to people who are short of stature. It's their portrayal and the use of that word.
Yes.
So it felt like a strange
But then that move in itself pleased nobody because then you had all these people going, well, great, you've taken, you've denied jobs from people that could have absolutely used it. So that was the first controversy. The second controversy was just in the translation of Snow White. That is a really old school fairy tale. And and Rachel Zegler, who plays Snow White, who was first seen in West Side Story, and then she was in the Hunger Games reboot. she said something like, well, yeah, of course we're updating it because, like, have you seen that story? Like, I mean, the prince literally stalks her. She said it in a kind of laughing, joking, affectionate way. Let's just say it didn't go down well in MAGA world. And then so Disney made another move and they said, we're having a premiere, but we're not going to have the traditional press line along the red carpet. I wonder why. They said, because we just want to make this a family. We want children to be there. We want little girls dressed as Snow White.
Children can ask questions. Has anyone got any child reporters?
Woo. So there was a lot going on, and also the fact that it was meant to come out last year. They delayed it. So what's happened is that now they've had the premiere and they lifted the social media embargo. And actually, online, the first tweets and social media posts about the movie were largely positive and with a hint of surprise. Mostly praising Rachel Zegler, praising the music, saying it worked, saying the story's been updated pretty well. A few things saying, look, what they've done with the dwarfs is still not great. But by and large, there was a vibe of pleasant surprise and saying this is perhaps one of their best live action remakes. So maybe will all of the negativity end up working for Snow White and everyone will be like, you know what? I liked it.
Yeah, well, I
Will
mean,
we be those people?
we will definitely be seeing it between, as soon as we can, so we can pass judgment on it.
Yeah.
But I think Disney went ahead and released it, so they must believe in it because they could have just shelved it in the end. They could have. If they genuinely thought, it was going to do more harm than good, they've invested in it, they've held it back, they've protected it, they've lovingly delivered it. So surely we have to believe it's not.
And we should also say a number of people that we respect are involved with this movie. The producer is Mark Platt. You know what his last movie was?
Wicked.
Yeah, totally.
I had planned today to always talk about the fact that this week is Neurodiversity Celebration Week. I have a complex relationship with the notion of Neurodiversity Celebration Week because a lot of it is about raising awareness, like we're bears or something and it will need to be warned. But generally, I agree with the sentiment that just educating society in general around neurodiversity is an umbrella term and the people that fall under that and how their lives can be improved by overall societal shifts in the conversations that happen around disability. Great, I'm all for that. And I'm giving a few speeches this week. This is a week where I get to go to workplaces and talk about it. I am autistic, ADHD, so I am flying that flag under that ND banner. I belong there 2 times over. I really wanted to hone in on what I was going to talk about this week, and I've been thinking about it for weeks.
Yes.
I have, because I have made a podcast about it, which has now become a resource that psychologists and psychiatrists alike are giving to newly diagnosed people called Anomalous. I presented at a Senate inquiry and I effected policy change around the way ADHD is treated within the government. And I also presented at the National Press Club of Australia around this topic. So I've said a lot.
Now played in schools.
So I've said a lot on this topic and I've been in this area and working hard in this field for years. So what's left for me to say? And I decided that, I've got to go back to how I experience being neurodivergent and how my children experience it because that's all I can speak to. And it's really tricky working in the space of disability because it shows up in each individual person. It's like a fingerprint. It's different. Autism for me is different for the child who doesn't use language, who's autistic, to the child who's autistic with a co-occurring profound disability. So when you say, I speak for autistic people, you simply cannot. So I guess I always, whenever I speak about being neurodivergent, I want you all to remember I do it with the caveat of in my experience and the experience of the people I care for. And I guess my main objective for this week was to try and see autism and ADHD not as deficits, because so often when we talk about these two things, it's spoken with negative connotations and negative language. And I think because we are measured against neurotypical standards and those standards prioritize sitting still and thinking in a linear fashion and processing the world in predictable ways, when you don't do that, then you're labelled as disordered. So I find it so hard to talk about this because I'm so scared of saying the wrong thing and I don't want to upset people who are already upset and doing it tough and hard. And this week I'm really working to flip the perspective because I don't want people to view people like me and my kids as having a broken version of a normal brain. because that's not how I view it, and it's not how I want my kids to view it. And when I found out Elio was autistic, I really thought about what my reaction was to that. And, I've been having to write about it in my book. So when I write about things, I have to go back and revisit them. And I went back to the day Elio was diagnosed, and I remember I felt unprepared and winded. But then I remember really quickly kind of shifting away from what the diagnosis was going to take away from him, and I became obsessed with what it revealed about him. And that's kind of what I've been on a mission to discover, is the great revealing. And so I reframed his diagnosis, and it was hard to do. And I'm not saying I get it right all the time, but it's not a loss. It's this incredible moment of understanding. And I guess with any parent perhaps struggling with or coming to terms with the diagnosis of their child, or even within yourself, being able to shift your focus on an understanding rather than a loss, it's saved me so many times over. And it's advice I've given parents for 3 or 4 years now. Just, I understand it. I see you. There's so many things to worry about, but the way you handle it and process it will inform how your child handles it and processes it. So if they see you being able to, flip it and find a new way forward, they will also do the same. And I'm, of course, speaking about kids who don't have a co-occurring profound disability, and not all autistic kids can advocate for themselves. And, every parent of an autistic child has their own unique set of struggles, and I understand that, and I'm not minimizing those in any way. But for me personally, I've spent years trying to unlearn the idea that I need to be fixed, and I'm not going to allow my children or any neurodivergent person to believe that who they are is something to be sad about, and that, we're not broken, we're not less than. And also the reframing of not seeing Elio in the eyes of what if or what could have been, but just focusing on who they are now is whole and exactly who they are, and what are we going to do moving forward. So I guess what I wanted to say and what I'd always planned to say, and yes, there is a strange undercurrent to the way I'm saying this now, because it's been in the press the last few days, and I wanted to say that I'd planned to say this for a long time, and my goal and objective this week when I'm going out to workplaces is to talk about how we reframe the way we talk about neurodiversity, especially around our kids. So that's all I wanted to say. Do you have any questions? I think I'm going to vomit. Some of you will understand why I think I'm going to vomit. I also want you to be really cautious. We're probably going to put a video up about this because I'd always planned to, because this is a really important week. Please be mindful of commenting what you just be really respectful in the comments. And I'd like you to please not bring up other podcasters or other people who have been speaking about this in a negative light. We're all doing our best. We all approach things differently. This is just my approach and one I've had for years. And it is not some response or retaliation to another person's handling of finding out their child is neurodivergent.
Well, I mean, it feels, especially considering you're going into workplaces as well, like the key to making any successful workplace is to be able to meet people where they are. And that, I mean, that's also the kind of key to your parenting of Elio too. Like you meet him where he is. And I feel like
it's really, I feel like I'm going to vomit. It's so hard to be in this space. I am also neurodivergent. So with all the things that come with that, having to deal with the constant messages that it's a bad thing, that's a negative, or that. And I'm just keep propping up, smiling, going, well, no, here I am. And it's harder, but it's ultimately okay if I am met where I need to be met. And fuck, like I've got no spit in my mouth. It's just fraught. This is so fraught because parents of kids with disabilities, it's such an underserviced area. It's not discussed. It's underfunded. And it becomes just, and there's a lot of emotion involved, and disability is profoundly different for every individual that experiences it. So when you talk about it, you can't represent everybody. You can't be everything to everybody. And when you do talk about disability, everyone with a disability or anyone who cares of people with a disability, their ears prick up because they're like, oh my God, somebody is talking about us.
Totally, yeah. And also we're still at a time where it's so rare for people in public to be talking about it. Feels that way. There's so few people. So when someone does, it feels like there's all this immense pressure for them to represent every experience,
You can't do it.
that it could possibly happen. It was like, I mean, there was we've spoken about this with all sorts of things, like even in terms of like trans representation and stuff like that. Like then it just puts people in an impossible, because no one person's experiences can speak to everybody's.
No.
But there is still immense value in people just describing it as it is for them, because guaranteed you might not be able to speak to everyone, but you can still speak to a lot of people that haven't been spoken to. That's without question. You know you have.
Yeah.
And will continue to.
But I think one mass generalization I am willing to make is that if you meet a person with a disability, whatever that disability is, where they need to be met with the support systems they need to thrive, it can only be good for both of you.
Totally. And what I take away from what you say about like it's an opportunity to understand its knowledge and everything like that. I always feel like the one benefit of getting older is, you know, when you sort of learn how you work yourself and all of a sudden you realize how much of your life you spent bashing around pushing yourself to do things that wouldn't work for you. Like a diagnosis is such a massive leap forward.
It's huge.
In terms of learning.
That's the number one thing women ask me. I'm 40. Why should I bother? Like why do I bother?
Oh, yeah.
And I want to grab them by their glorious faces and say, my darling, you matter. You get context. How you sit, what you do with that information is up to you, whether you want to be medicated or whether you want to, you know, try therapy or whether you want to try and change your entire life and existence. But the first step is it will take off one set of glasses that are usually got a shame lens in them, and it will put on another set of glasses where you'll look at yourself through much kinder eyes. And
also potentially give you access to people that's kind of like, I've been through a similar experience and I found that this worked for me. This really made a difference in my life, and whatever. It could be minor things. Often they are really minor things. But
because parents often rally against labels, Michael. Like, I don't want my child to be labelled. I don't want my child to be...
That's right. Medicalised.
Yeah. And I think,
I've heard that phrase a fair bit.
I think in this instance, for me personally and for my kids, the label has just taken the pressure valve off all of us, and we're able to meet each other where we need to be met. I know what Elio's needs are because I have all the information. But before, I was guessing and blind and frustrated and thought I was failing as a parent. And then I found out what his needs were and why he needed them, and I was able to meet them. And I have a whole different kid on my hands. And as a result, he's going to be a much happier adult and contribute in ways to society that I never dreamed were possible before his diagnosis. So I think, you know, like I said, you know, I'm very careful when I talk about this type of topic, and, you know, I'm sorry if you're feeling ripped up or upset by anything I've said today. That's just not my intention. That sounded like a Real Housewives of Beverly Hills apology, but genuinely isn't.
I'm sorry if I've made you upset.
Yeah, if I've upset you. But I genuinely come in with my open heart and, you know, my very busy brain, and quite knowledgeable now in this area. And I'm not a doctor or a scientist, but I have ADHD/autistic, hyperfixated, special interested the shit out of this. And when hyperfixation and special interest combine, it's like when the dark and light sabers in Star Wars cross. Hectic. Hectic power.
Or is it in Ghostbusters when they cross the streams?
I always think about two men weeing and crossing streams. It doesn't feel as powerful.
No, that would just
crossing
be messy.
Streams feels
That's
like
water
a
sports.
Literal pissing contest.
Yeah, okay, sure.
But I prefer the crossing of light.
Okay, sure,
sabers.
gotcha.
It just feels a bit more powerful. My focus for this week, and I urge you to do the same, is just that reframing, how we view and talk about people who are neurodivergent, and seeing it as an opportunity to learn and understand rather than focusing on, you know, what we may miss out on or the things that are negative about it. That's it. Okay. Oh my God, I feel like vomiting. Okay.
I think
you can attest. Like, I'm just going to unmask for a moment because I've been masking like a motherfucker, which is a privilege. And I acknowledge that. This has really taken its toll on me. Like, just in general, you've been there for the last couple of years, and I'm not just talking about the last week.
Yes.
It's like, it's.
Yes, hits you in the solar plexus.
People
knocks
don't
you
see,
off.
but you see behind the scenes. Ben sees behind the scenes. James Little, he films it. But I mean, everybody gets the top 2% of.
Yeah. Well, it's also because it's like you're talking about the core of your being as well out there, and so when there's pushback, how can that not feel personal in the most profound way? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
Do you?
All right. Well, to all my neurodivergent kings, queens, theys, thems, everyone in between, wherever you want to be, do what you want to do. I see you, and I hope you have a good week. Well, it'll be Thursday by the time you hear that. I hope the week's been good. And if I came to your workplace, come and it'll all have passed.
Yeah.
Specifically, if you work at a linter, I'll see you tomorrow. Coming up next on the sealed section, though, my F1. Oh, good. Happier times. Happier times.
I actually think this is the perfect thing. This will pull you out.
Yes.
Plug into that F1 hyperfixation.
Dad and I attended the Formula One Grand Prix kick-off at Melbourne Albert Park. We experienced highs and very wet and muddy lows. Yeah. We'll also be discussing some of your low-stakes hot takes. There are things such as F1 is boring from Melissa. So that's
not from me.
That feels amazingly antagonistic. From Melissa, the order one must use to put shoes on is sock, sock, shoe, shoe. Not sock, shoe, that is all. I have strong feelings about this. Will shock nobody.
Really?
Yep. And you will be arguing against the person who said that which is the superior musical?
Oh, she's actually said best Disney soundtrack ever. That changes things slightly, but I'm still going to go with the argument that I have.
Okay. And she said the best Disney soundtrack ever was?
Hercules.
Okay.
It's different if
it
we're just looking at the songs.
Soundtrack.
I'm still saying I'm still a no. Closely followed by Tarzan. That's a major no for me.
I can't even name one
Full
song.
respect to Phil Collins.
I was just going to ask
yeah.
Phil Collins.
Yeah.
He's not well.
Isn't he?
I don't think he's long for this world.
Oh, no.
No, he's not well. I know, it's really sad. I don't know why I have a weird connection to Phil Collins. I don't know. I can't even tell you why.
Oh.
I feel like he's my dad in weird ways. I don't know.
Because he was always...
Musician.
It felt like, yes. And it felt like he was already old in the 80s, even though he wasn't.
Because he lost his hair. Like Donahue.
Also wrote some amazing songs.
Incredible.
Amazing.
So
in
good.
the Air Tonight.
Oh.
Fucking hell.
Now, look, if you want to listen to any of this, you need to be an Emsolation Extra subscriber. Please do that. Please consider supporting us. Before we do go, though, Rage Against the Vagine pre-production is in full swing. Now, I had two options. Do we start a brand new social media platform, Instagram account, Facebook, do the whole 9 yards? But then I said I don't want to be at the whim and at the mercy of
Mark Zuckerberg?
Correct. Because I just feel like, call me crazy, if we are doing a specialised women's health subject, might not get promoted as much.
Sure.
So then I really kind of put my thinking cap on and thought, I want a way to mobilise the community. I need also a committee. I need a committee of people who want to be a part of this podcast, literally your voices, your stories, who want to give their opinions, people we can survey. So we're starting the Rage Against the Vagine committee. And this is going to be a mailing list. And each week you will get an email from Tara or myself or Ben. Tara is our incredible producer who we're bringing on. We're very serious about this to help us make Rage Against the Vagine. So you're going to sign up to a mailing list, and it's just a way of knowing I can mobilise you all directly each week without hoping that you see the post with the algorithm and all the crap that's going on. So Ben's going to put it in the newsletter this week. Mm-hmm. We're going to put it up on our socials as well, ironically. But if this sounds like something you would like to be involved in, it's totally free. But we just would like to gather a few thousand of you who are really passionate about perimenopause and menopause and, want to be part of giving your opinions on how we're going, actually giving us your stories, getting updates, all those kind of things. Please consider being a part of the Rage Against the Vagine committee and look out for that link to sign up to the mailing list. And then, at the end of it all, maybe we can just get together. We can gather the committee for some kind of outing. It'll be so good. All right, that's all for now. We'll see you soon heading into the sealed section to discuss the things we said we were going to discuss. Bye. Extra. It's Emsolation Extra. Coming up on Emsolation Extra. Well, Sunday night's low stakes hot takes. My daughter was in there dropping bombs.
Oh, but come on, that's ridiculous. She doesn't think that.
Can I tell you the two options that she gave me that she was thinking of doing?
Oh, what?
The first option was the one that she wrote, Beyonce's overrated.
Yeah.
Second one she wanted to drop, and I offer this with no further comment. I love podcast.
That's too far. Too far.
I have no comment. Okay, but some of the other opinions. Here we go. Melissa, the order one must use to put shoes on is, okay, we're going to say it at the same time what we do. All right? Okay, not yet. This is Melissa's order. Sock, sock, shoe, shoe. Not sock, shoe, sock, shoe. That is all. Okay, on the count of three, say what you do. 1, 2, 3.
If you want to hear, or even better, watch what happened next, give yourself the gift of Emsolation Extra. For less than $2 a week, you get 2 bonus episodes every week, close friends access on Instagram, pre-sales ticket priority, and merch discounts. There's even exclusive video episodes of our sealed section every Thursday on our extra tier for less than $3 a week. Find out more at emsolation.supercast.com now. Emsolation with M. Rusciano is recorded at Down the Hill Studios, hosted by M. Rusciano with Michael Lucas. Executive produced by Benjamin Wasley, produced by M. Rusciano. Edited by Ezekiel Fenn, with videos by James Henderson. Socials by Benjamin Wasley, M. Rusciano and Marcello Rusciano Barrow, with assistance from Jem Evans and Isabella Hines. You'll find links to get more Emsolation on Instagram at Emsolation Podcast. And thanks for listening. We can't wait to chat with you again soon.